Let's go ahead and look elsewhere, though, and make a case for some of these big names in college football to win the Heisman. And we welcome back McKenzie Brooks to the program. We're going to go ahead and start with Arch Manning, who is at the top here. This is, I feel like, an easy case to kind of make, but I'm unsure at the same time. It's officially his era in Texas, McKenzie.
Yeah, well, I mean, to have the shortest odds at this point, most guys with the shortest odds in the beginning of the season don't typically end up winning. I mean, that's probably the only case against him. I think Marcus Mariota was the last one to do it, and he had 2 seasons as a starter before he even hit that. So I think for Arch Manning, he's in a good spot because he can either win this as the super stat guy or just being one of the best guys on one of the best teams in the country. When I look at the threshold of what he probably has to hit, it's that 35-plus passing touchdowns, and he needs to exceed the expectations or at least hit the expectations of what we think they need to do, which is definitely making the playoffs, but I think it's winning the SEC championship. So we give him a 35% chance to win the SEC championship, give him a 60% chance to hit the stats he needs to hit. So that's still around a 12% chance, and that is the highest math-wise of anyone we do have in the leading.
Save your money. Do not put it down on Arch Manning at 7-1. There's no value there when you're the favorite. You come in, the only way you can go is down, and it starts in week 1. Like, if he struggles, which is not that crazy to think he could at the Shoe in Columbus against Ohio State, he's going to drop dramatically. So even if you did really like him, you could probably wait and get him at better value later. But it is so hard to do that, and there's a lot of people assuming that he's going to step in and get better play out of the quarterback than you got from Quinn Ewers last year. I think that is a massively over expectation for Arch Manning. I think it could be a little bit up and down. I think he's going to be good. If he's great, he wins the Heisman and he wins the national championship. I think this year might be that learning curve year, though, where he kind of feels out what it's like to be the full-time starter at Texas. So I think you're throwing money away if you take it on Arch Manning to win the Heisman.
Yeah, let's be clear. As far as betting, I'm not anywhere interested in this. But technically, statistically, he does technically have the best chance to win. But it doesn't always go that way.
Like,
I agree.
What do you mean, give me Bryce Underwood plus 5,000? Like, that's what I'm rolling with here. That's more my speed here. All right, let's keep it rolling here. We'll go ahead and check in with Cade Klubnik, who has the second best odds right now, tied with Garrett Nussmeier of LSU. Third year, Danny, one of the most experienced quarterbacks in college football entering this season. Make a case for him to win the Heisman, and how much of a step does he need to take?
Oh, he's the most sure thing, I think, of any quarterback across college football. And that includes Drew Allar. It includes Garrett Nussmeier. It includes some other players who have played a lot. But you mentioned it, Jordan, third-year starter. And last year, after that Georgia game, which was abysmal, and everybody wrote Clemson and wrote Cade Klubnik off, he really took off. And he really took over that team late in the season. And he had a great performance in the ACC championship game against SMU. And I thought he had one of the better performances against Texas's defense in a playoff loss to them. He's got maybe the best wide receiving core, or one of them, across the country. He's got a veteran offensive line. The only question mark is running back, which is actually a good thing because that should pad Cade Klubnik's numbers. And then lastly, and I know you guys are going to chuckle about this, and I know McKenzie's going to have a field day with this, but the schedule, I know it starts off brutal, but they should be heavy favorites in every game. They're playing against ACC opponents. It should be a lot of opportunities for stats for him to put up massive numbers. So I think Cade Klubnik is actually pretty good value where he is for the Heisman. I trust him more than any other quarterback out there.
Yeah, he gets all these easy games to put up massive stat padding numbers. Gotta love the ACC here. I think, and I'm big on the stat thresholds and the passing touchdowns you have to hit, yada yada. When it comes to him, and I'm trying to reverse engineer what the odds makers are saying too, it literally comes down to not losing more than one SEC game. If they lose this game to LSU, he puts himself so many steps backwards I can't even begin to explain it. And then you think about South Carolina, who they did lose to, Georgia, who they did lose to, Louisville, who isn't even an SEC team, just a solid contending team. Until he actually beats a really good team, I think that's literally what he has to do to be in contention for this award. So LSU will be a big game for his Heisman odds.
All right, we will see if he proves you wrong, McKenzie Brooks. Let's keep it rolling here, and we check in with Jeremiah Smith, a receiver out of Ohio State, one of the best, one of maybe 2 best players in college football. Make a case.
Yeah, so he's an interesting case. Obviously, you're not comparing him to the quarterback numbers that we were using for these guys. So Devontae Smith is really the only guy you can compare him to who did win the Heisman. Now, for that, it was 18 1,400 receiving yards and 18 touchdowns. So in my eyes, you have to at least hit that, if not excel past that, given all the competition you have with the quarterbacks here this season. So we have him projected to go right around that. Now that does imply him playing every single game, which I think he should be. But again, that's basically what you're looking at as far as his odds. And I think beating Texas also is a very big part of that, because I think he and his numbers would be a very large part of that. So we have it around a 10%. Odds imply around an 8%. So we give him a little better chance than odds makers, but just about in line with that 11-1.
I mean, we all know the quarterback is the most important position in the game, and most of the time a quarterback is going to win the Heisman Trophy. But if you did want to look at another player that can take over a game all by himself, you don't have to look further than Jeremiah Smith. I mean, the guy is an absolute highlight reel. And I think what actually helps him is Julian Sayin comes in as a first-year starter. I don't expect him to do much or know too much with that offense, but the one thing he'll do is give it to Jeremiah Smith and let him make plays for him. And he does. They are missing some other wide receivers, too, from last year. No more Emeka Buka. They're always going to have receivers at Ohio State, but he's the very clear-cut number one. I think he could challenge those numbers. Ohio State should be in the national title conversation. It's the Buckeyes. So I actually don't hate his odds from a non-quarterback position.
All right, I'm buckling up for this one because I really want to hear what Danny has to say about Carson Beck and his chances at winning the Heisman this year.
Do you want to make the case for or the case against?
Honestly, give me both.
I don't hate it. I have my doubts about Carson Beck's ability to step into a locker room and be a leader and step up on a team that has massive question marks at wide receiver. But he does inherit a great offensive line, a really good run game, and a supposedly improved Miami Hurricane defense. And he was a player who just a year ago, entering last season with Georgia, was everybody's top 5 NFL draft pick and a Heisman favorite last season. Now, he did struggle with the interception bug, but if he does eliminate that and Miami is as good as some people think, he could be in that conversation. I think that's huge. They were good last year, but they didn't win the ACC championship game, didn't even get there. If he brings the Hurricanes back, and let's say they get to the ACC championship game and they win it, I love his chances. I'm not a believer that could happen, but there's definitely a path for Carson Beck to get there.
I love the butt
I'm not
there.
a believer. I'm so out on Miami. It's like insane. I couldn't be more out.
There was a big if in that statement as well when it comes to Carson Beck and his chances there at Miami. Let's go ahead and check in with Drew Allar here. You know, Penn State is my pick to win the college football playoff, become national champions. Danny, make your case for Drew Allar.
Oh, this is a stat padding season if there ever was one for Drew Allar. The big question mark is, what does he do on the biggest stages? He's got 2 opportunities in the regular season, one against Oregon at home and then that Ohio State game on the road. Other than that, they're going to be heavy favorites against most of their opponents this season. And I expect him to get to the Big Ten championship game. So even if he does lose one of those games and goes 1-1, I think he could get the best of them. That's actually what I think is going to happen. I think he loses at Ohio State but gets revenge in the Big Ten championship game. And if he's got the great stats, which I think he'll accumulate, he's very safe with the football. He always has a great touchdown to interception ratio. He should be right there, and that could be his lasting performance in a Big Ten title game against whoever the opponent is, to kind of put an exclamation point on his Heisman campaign. I like Drew Allar's chances to be there holding the Heisman Trophy.
I just think there are so many other people who have to fail first for him to be in this conversation, including Arch Manning, including Cade Klubnik, including Garrett Nussmeier. Like, he has awesome running backs, which makes it really hard to beat. Like, our expectations of Drew Allar are so high, and for awards like this, for NFL, MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, all of it, you have to exceed expectations, and our expectations for him are so high that it's so hard for me to believe that he's going to exceed that, especially when he has such amazing running backs this year that are going to be such a big part of this offense as well. And you talked about the big games. That is literally going to be what it comes down to. Exceed expectations in those big games. Now the bar's in the basement because we saw a lot of 0 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 touchdown, 3 interceptions against USC. So that's where I get confused. I'm like, maybe our expectations are low because he performed so poorly in those big games, but that's not a good thing. Right. So I don't know. So many guys, in my opinion, have to fail. He has to play so well in these higher quality games, and I just think you need too many cards to fall your way.
Yeah, well, I think that's just it. And Danny said that, right? Have to perform on the big stage and exceed expectations, rather. Let's go ahead and check in with a name that maybe we're not talking enough about. John Mateer, Oklahoma quarterback. Tell me more.
I'm big on Oklahoma this year. I love what they're doing. I think John Mateer is going to be phenomenal. I think any version of bringing in a new guy and an offensive coordinator as well can work out really well for a team. I think with with him is he can exceed expectations. We don't really have big expectations of this team. I think getting to 9 wins, maybe cracking 10. 9 wins is typically the threshold you need to be a Heisman contender here. I think Oklahoma can absolutely get there given the schedule that they have, especially at 25-1. We give them around a 50 to 55% chance to hit that 35-plus passing touchdowns here. So this is definitely a value play, but I will say, for what it's worth, guys like Jaden Daniels, they were 25-1 in the beginning of August as well. So don't sleep on some of the guys down the board, because those are the guys who typically end up seeing in New York.
Let us not forget Danny Kanell, McKenzie Brooks. The fun is just beginning,
yes,
my friends. The fun is just beginning. All right, we'll get more college football talk on the Cover 3 podcast right now. The guys actually have a 2025 season preview out right now. Scan that QR code on your screen to watch and listen wherever you get your podcasts.